I'm so close to being done with this outline. I'm so excited, guys. Right now, I'm working on the second draft of a very detailed outline for my Fae Dragon romance novel. I use the 8 sequence outlining method, so it like breaks the book into 8 equal chunks. So right now, I'm working through the 7th sequence. So I'm so close to the end. I'm fleshing out a lot of things that in the first draft of the outline, I was like, I know I need this situation to happen. And I think this is the person who's driving the scene. And here's how I think the scene ends. But there was a lot left to be fleshed out. And it's coming together so well. I'm just so excited about it. Today is September 26th. Tomorrow is the last day of the third quarter of 2025. I use Sarah Cannon's HB90 planning method. So I'm in the process of printing out my new journal sheets and coming up with what my goals are for this fourth quarter of 2025. I love this fall time energy. So I thought I would do a little bit of a vlog from here where I am now. I've got 3 more chapters to fully flesh out. I already did an initial, here's what I think I'm changing from the first draft, and then now I'm fleshing those changes out. So I have those 3 chapters to do, and then I'll be done with the 7th sequence. And I'm hoping, planning, think it can happen that I finish those today. It's so exciting how everything's coming together and all of their character arcs are everything is getting crushed towards them having these final character arc changes. And that's so exciting in particular because this is dual point of view romance. They both have these very significant character arc changes on more than just a romantic level, but these huge changes in themselves. And that's hard. It's hard. I've been writing dual point of view romances for so long. I haven't published anything. Last year was the first year that I finished an actual entire draft. This year I finished 3 first drafts. No, 2 first drafts and one entire rewrite, but it was a second draft. We're finally getting somewhere. With this story, it's so much stronger. It's so heartening that what you're working on at the moment is like the strongest thing that you've done. But in particular, everything's coming together to really rush them towards their character arc change, but also we're so close to the end, right? We're in the last 10 chapters of the book or something, and the characters are not together. And all of the situations that they're engaged in their prospective chapters have to do with the other one. We're not forgetting at any moment that the romance is the real problem, and it's not that many chapters that they're apart from each other. We're not forgetting. The romantic tension's still there. The question is still as open as ever of how are they going to be together? Because how do you do this when everything's like that? What the hell? The number one thing that makes me as a reader put down a book, a romance book, is if it just is so simple how things are going to resolve. And the number one reason that I keep reading and I don't want to stop and in one sitting want to find out is if it's so impossible. If it's so impossible that they could possibly be together, but you know that they have to. And so to be at the point where I'm writing something like that, thank God. Thank God, because holy cow, how much how much like work and study and trying and failing, has gone in behind this. But anyways, it's very exciting. And at this stage too, we're meeting a few more characters who are going to be part of the larger series as a whole and not just this book. So that's also very exciting. So here I go, working on chapter 54. I just finished that chapter and it actually changed really drastically. So this is what I like so much about working with outline rather than actual prose. It's so much easier to make these huge changes to what's going on without all the prose to get in the way. I don't know. It's obviously that's just the style writer I am apparently. So I had thought it was going to be a conflict between her and the primary opponent, and instead what actually is going to make sense here to support what I want to do during the climactic sequence is to set up a reason why this fake opponent ally character will flip and become a true ally during the climactic sequence, which that's terminology from John Truby's The Anatomy of Stories. Essentially, an ally character is someone who wants the character to achieve their goal and is probably helping them in some way. And an opponent is someone who does not want the character to achieve their goal and is probably hindering it in some way. But a fake opponent ally is someone who pretends and acts as if they don't want the protagonist to achieve their goal, but in actuality, they do. And that's the character that I think is driving the conflict right now of this scene, because I have this idea of what I want to happen in the climactic sequence, and it involves that really satisfying flip of someone who had been an opponent actually aiding. And it's going to be really fun, I think, because it sort of takes two separate ideas I had for characters and combines them into this singular character, this fake opponent ally, because I had wanted there to be someone from her past that had been her school nemesis sort of thing. And I wanted them to have this meeting now, so many years down the road, where they've had these different life experiences, and have that prior opponent be more supportive and actually see things from a different point of view and flip and help. So I had that character in mind that I wanted to have. And I also thought, wouldn't it be fun if there was a character who was this certain position within the Fae court, and there was a certain conflicting dynamic between them and the protagonist? And I was like, well, there's no reason that this fake opponent ally can't be that position, you know? So I think that's going to be really fun. It's going to support what I want to do in the climactic sequence. And I also think it's going to be fun because I can take that character and remodel an old story idea I had that I wasn't sure what to do with, and have this character be that primary love interest for that book. So I'm really excited about that. I think that's a really fun setup and sort of an amalgamation of these couple different ideas going on. So, and I just wanted to give a little bit of some context. I still don't know what specifically is going on in the scene, but I think I have a general idea of the flow of it. And that's such a weird thing to say. So I wanted to just read the little bit that I have about it. So I'll make it more vague so that it's not huge spoilers. But what I have is Selena wants to find out what this character wants without giving away her position on the subject they're discussing. So that's her goal for the scene. That's the spine of the scene. Her plan for how she's going to do this is that because she can tell he's not being direct about what he actually wants, she's going to play along and see if she can get him to reveal his true intent. So she'll be indirect and subtle, possibly insinuating, since she can't outright lie because she's a fae. She's going to insinuate that she has a certain opinion when in reality, she's fishing for his own position. And he's going to stand in the way of her achieving her goal of finding out what he wants, because he's curious about her and the situation, and he's politically savvy. There's no reason to be direct and everything to be gained by baiting her and trying to ascertain her true opinions on the things pertinent to his own self-interest and goals. So the conflict is that they engage in an indirect, nuanced interrogation that masquerades as pleasantries and simple curiosity. And Selena is getting mixed impressions from him on whether he's sympathetic to her situation or not. And then we have the stakes inherent in the scene. So if he is sympathetic, then he might be exactly the kind of ally she needs in order to solve the problem she's facing. And if he's not sympathetic, and prior to this, she had every reason to believe that he would not be, and is instead playing his own game, then being forthright could land her in even deeper trouble. He has his own goal he's trying to achieve and believes there's a possibility that she may move him closer to reaching it. But he remains unconvinced of that, and until he's sure, he's unwilling to be forthright. So all of this would normally boil up into a crisis point where one of them becomes forthright, or somehow it comes to a head. But instead, as we're barreling towards the end, I want that to be interrupted by him being called away by news that the love interest. So that scene ends in disaster. So she failed to ascertain what he actually wanted by coming by and having this strange, unusual conversation. But also, there's this disaster of, oh my God, the love interest, who was supposed to be somewhere else is here and is in trouble, and she is in absolutely no position to do anything about it. So, what is she going to do now about this situation? So, I think that's how the chapter ends. I'm really excited about that. I really like that change. But I'm going to take a break now. That was, I think, like 45 minutes of work. It's October 1st, and I just finished the second draft of this outline. I'm so happy. I printed it out so I can take a look. There's definitely a lot of stuff still to change and add to the beginning that I had come up with only by the end. So I'm excited to flip through and get even closer to the story. But I'm feeling really, really good. I like the way it ended up. I've always thought the beginning of it was this super fun adventure, and it's so crazy looking at these beginning chapters and being like, oh my gosh, that's right, a lot happens in this book. Where they start and where they end up, wow, there's a lot that happens. So that's really exciting, because the biggest problem I had with my last Project Chance, which was a contemporary shifter romance. Well, I love that project. The contemporariness of it all really got to me, and I was like, what's happening in this story? I don't know. And that was one of the reasons that I switched over to do fantasy as my next project instead of continuing with that contemporary shifter series as I had originally planned. And it's paying off. I'm so excited. What I'm doing is I'm looking through it right now, and I'm changing the estimated word count that I think is necessary for each chapter, because there are just so many chapters, and it's like, wow, we really need to have some small word counts to fit everything in here, which is a fun sort of challenge. I finished this last part I needed to do in 2 days, and I had given myself the rest of the week to do it, and it ended up going smoother than I thought. So, I think what I'm gonna do is probably end up focusing on some of these more story components that I have on my Kanban and just take a look, because at the beginning of working on this second draft of the outline, I still didn't really have a solid idea of what I even wanted the log line to be, which is very not like me, not like the writer that I've become in the past year. But I think I'll be able to go through a bunch of that story component stuff and just have the answers already. And so, anyways, I think I'm gonna focus on that for the rest of the week. And I get to take a look at Project Demon, which is the second book in the series. And it's so funny to be working on outlines for two books in the same series at the same time without having a draft of either of them. But I don't know, it's working. It's fine. As I was thinking so much and going in circles in August about what I wanted Project Goblin story to be, I got so many ideas for the other books in the series, so that I actually last weekend sat down and I wrote out a pretty detailed outline summary of Project Demon, because I already know. I know the characters that are going to be in it. I know the goal of the story. I know how it ends up. And so it's just like, holy cow. That was so much easier than trying to figure stuff out for Project Goblin. But that's how it is, right? Like, the first book in the series is always going to be the hardest. So I'm excited. I'm going to take a look at story components for Project Goblin, take a look at the blurb I had initially written and tweak that, and then see how much of a brief chapter summary I might be able to do for Project Demon, because right now it's summarizing each sequence, because I work in 8 sequence method outlining. So I've got like the little summary of like, here's what this whole chunk is about and how it ends. But then breaking that down into about how many chapters do I think each of those sections will be, and what's the main thing that happens in each of those chapters. So that's gonna be really fun. I actually had already started doing that as well last week. I did the summary of each chapter for the first sequence. So there's only 7/8 of the book left to do that way. Anyways, so it's going well. It's going great. I'm having a good time. Hopefully by the time I have another vlog out on Project Goblin, I'll just be wrapping up that stuff, and I'll be able to share maybe not an actual blurb, but a little elevator pitch, which I don't have at the moment. So very exciting. I hope October's going well for you guys. Did I say it's October 1st? Happy October. And yeah, I hope your writing projects are going well and everything's going well. And I'll see you in the next one.